Alright, here we are spawning in the upper right in the blue, of course, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming here in this qualifying match of the 4th qualifier of the NeXT tournament. Give it up for ZEST! And his opponent on the bottom left-hand side of the map in the red, the 4th race for Team NV. He is MARU. And of course, before we get too far into here, you did see the pop-up right before we got on into that game, and I would like to remind you, and remind everyone else watching, but you in particular, random person here watching this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all of these videos. We're putting out stuff like on a nearly daily basis, actually multiple times a day I think at this point. And if you want to catch all that fantastic StarCraft action, well, only way to do it is to make sure you're subscribed and you get notifications to this channel. So you can do all that. And then, well, likes just help us with the YouTube algorithm. So that is also useful indeed. But hey, now that we're done with that, we should probably talk about the game that is happening here. So this is the 4th qualifier of the NetEase tournament that's coming up in June. And, well, it's a rather interesting format. So there are like 7 qualifiers on the Korean server. There are a couple more on Europe. I want to say there are like 6 qualifiers out of Europe and a few less out of North America for this tournament. But unlike a lot of qualifiers where like the top 2 will qualify, or the top 4, or maybe even the top 8 if it's a ESL qualifier for Europe, this is the top 1. Every single tournament, or every single qualifier, and there are 7 of them, so this is number 4, as we mentioned, only one person qualifies through. So it's either going to be ZEST or MARU that are going to qualify out of this series. The other one, well, they're going to have to reset, go back, and try to do it again. Which is obviously not exactly what you're looking for. Ideally, you made it to the finals of a qualifier. You hope that's good enough to qualify. But that is not the case here. And that means these players may opt to play a little bit safer, but on the flip side, you might see a little bit more aggression, right? Try to take a quick game. Put yourself that 1-0 lead, because again, these maps are important. This is not just for seeding like it would normally be. If you're looking at, say, the finals of a qualifier, this is actually, again, to make sure that you do qualify, as this adept will find its way on into the natural. But with the Marine here, yeah, okay, the Marine will be good enough, and the bunker is close enough to being finished that this adept will not really get a whole lot done, and that does, of course, keep the command center safe as well. Sometimes, well, look at that, the adept is not going to be successful in killing that SCV. It got very close. Got 5 HP from getting there, but of course, well, SCVs take 3 hits to die to kill an SCV, not just 2. So we have a Twilight Council and a Robo here on the way for ZEST, as he's most likely going for your kind of standard stock solid Blink DT, or not Blink DT, Blink Stalker build. As again, these adepts are trying to get something done, but just like it takes 2 shots to kill an SCV, takes 3 shots to kill an SCV, it also takes 3 shots to kill a Marine. So these adepts may be able to get this 1 SCV on the way, but now there are 3 adepts here. And it will be DT drops coming in from ZEST. I know I said it was going to be Blink, but I don't know why I'm surprised. ZEST has been doing DT builds against Terran rather consistently over the last 2 months, probably is a good measure for that. And it makes sense, right? Even if the Terran does go for Ravens, which a lot of Terrans do tend to do if they're going to go for a 2-base push, which, considering he's MARU and this is Beckett, I would not be surprised to see our red Terran do, you can still get damage done. You can still kind of bulldog them in there, even if there is detection. If you can find a spot where the army's out of position and the Raven's not there, you can kill off a bunch of Marines maybe. So even then, when there is detection, the DTs don't even die. And of course, behind that, because this is 3-gate DT, which is a build, by the way, we originally saw in ZVP, or in PVZ, back a couple years ago at this point. Well, it's kind of interesting to see how that does evolve, because we really don't see that build in PVZ very much at all anymore. But now it's showing its head in a probably 2 out of 10, somewhat common manner here in this matchup. So that is probably 1 out of 10, but still pretty cool to see builds transcend matchups just a little bit. But anyways, Zesty's going to go on in here. He's going to have his DTs done. He's going to warp in 3 DTs. He's going to try to get to what damage he can. And by the time he has given up on this, he's going to have another warp in round from his gateways. So that means he can build himself some rather tasty little Archons and get a little bit more damage done, even as he does have to make sure that he does not take too much damage from his, well, too much damage from, or doesn't have to deal with the disable. But now with the Raven here, one SCV will, or excuse me, one DT will get almost targeted down. Going to get low, and this DT in the front is actually doing some significant work as well. At least, very least, making MARU spend some money. 6 workers do go down as well, and there we go. 2 more DTs getting warped on in, so we're going to see double Archon drops coming on in behind this. As this one DT, I guess, is just going to be a scouting DT more than anything else. But anyways, with the Archon drops, what ZEST has to be very careful of is that he does not get disabled. This War Prism does not get disabled, and then, well, he loses both Archons guaranteed. So, that being said, do we have energy on this Raven to do that? That's the question. It did. I'm kind of surprised we didn't see ZEST go for the disable, or MARU go for the disable there, but I guessed in part that forces ZEST to commit, and then maybe you just don't think you have enough to really make that commitment happen. Or enough to survive if that commitment does happen. But now we do have MARU here. Well, ZEST is going into blink behind this. He will get +1. He will get immortals. All of that fun stuff. And again, he got 6 workers, right? He was able to shave off some of the Terran army, but now with all of these missile turrets everywhere, well, actually, there's not one really defending the main base. I mean, there's a tank, and that's something. But look at this, MARU. He's leaning fully on into the all-in here for the +1 stim combat shield timing, as he is going to go on straight up to 5 barracks before his third base, which is pretty much the most aggressive version of this build that you can do. There is going to be no third base here. This is as aggressive as possible. So these Archons, well, they're going to try to knock down this eBay. They won't be successful. They're only going to take a little bit of damage, as we do see the tank fire following them on up into the sky, which is always a little cool. But anyway, 6 gateways coming on in here behind this, and there is going to be no charge here for ZEST, and that's kind of a problem. If your opponent is going for 5 barracks all-ins, you want charge. Blink is not going to do it for you. Yes, +1 is on the way. Yes, there is going to be immortals. But without charge, as we can see, it's not like charge is done and I missed it. Without charge, it is going to be a very difficult ask indeed to hold off on this incredibly committed push. So there we go. Our 5 barracks are done. +1 is just about done. Stim and combat shield are done. And now we have concussive shells on the way. So this is going to be a massive army that's going to flood its way across the map here. Because again, this is Beckett. This is the shortest rest distance in the pool by a long shot. It's 28 seconds. It's even shorter than Submarine was. And it's like 2 screens. So now we do have the Archons here trying to get something done. They're not going to be quite as effective as Blink Stalkers in holding armies back. But they're going to try. And actually, you know what? With the splash with the Marines, they're going to be able to get something done here. But again, the scary thing is the main army that's coming on in here, because ZEST has not really been able to kill off a whole hell of a lot. SCVs are going to get pulled as well, as the Stalkers are going to blink on forward, and they do not, barely, they don't get the Raven. And that is a big deal indeed. I honestly almost feel like ZEST just gives this base up. Now he's going to try to make that happen, as he's going to blink on top of these tanks, but there are 4 tanks here. All the Stalkers are going down. The army is going down here. These Immortals are just dying at an incredibly fast rate. And the Raven's not even going to go down. 21 workers have died, of course, from MARU, but this is an SCV pool. He doesn't really care about that. GG MARU. He's going to take game number 1. Here we are, spawning in the upper left. In the blue, he is representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Down 1 game in this series, but far from out. He is ZEST. And his opponent in the bottom right, in the red for Team NV. Give it up for MARU. So MARU game number 1, he went for a 5 barracks, 5 tank all in, +1 stim combat shields, all that fun stuff. And he was able to pretty much just kill his opponent, easy as you please. But game number 2, it is going to be on Romanticide. It's not quite as big of a map, or it's not quite as small of a map, I should say, as Beckett is. It's a game that it's a map that you can actually play on. It's a map that you can actually do stuff on without being under the constant threat of a bunch of tanks sieging outside of your third base immediately. Because, of course, the longer the map is here, if MARU does decide to go for some sort of long late-game attack, or early-game attack, wow, MARU does decide to go for some early 2.5 base attack, the longer the map is, the more time you have to chew away at it with your Archons, if you're going for an Archon drop, but more realistically with your Blink Stalkers, right? You want to be able to knock down as much of the army as possible. If you can knock down medevacs, if you can kill tanks, if you can kill Ravens, so much the better. But the goal at the very least is to kill off some Marines, some Marauders, anything you can really. You're going to remove as much damage from that push as you can by the time it actually hits your third base. Now ZEST, because of course, he went DTs, which meant he only had Archons, which honestly are not that maneuverable, not all that great at dealing with that push as it moves across the map, especially with only 2 Archons. ZEST was not really able to get what he wanted to get done. He really didn't kill off that much of the Terran push, and with that being the case, well, he just kind of eventually did die to it. That and the position outside of the third base that ZEST took is just really hard to hold. Now, I'm speaking about this just a little bit from the Zerg perspective, right, because that's the only thing I've played, but it's true of any race playing Terran against siege tanks. That third base, that linear third, is very hard to hold because it's so choked off, and it's not like you can kill off some rocks to open it up. And on top of that, I mean, it's just super choked up, right? I believe that siege tank range reaches the base if you're on the other side of the doodad. If it doesn't, it's very close. So it's really hard to take that fight. ZEST did his best. He blinked on top of and, you know, blinked the stalkers to the right to try to kill off those tanks. But there were 5 tanks when he blinked, and there were 4 tanks after he killed off 1 tank, which is how that math works. But 4 tanks against 10 stalkers, that's just not a good deal. It's not a good deal at all. So ZEST in this game, most likely this is going to be a blink opener. We're not going to see DTs once again, I don't think. Yeah, there we go. Blink is now going to get on the way. So this is a bit more standard of an opener here for ZEST. He's not going to do something quite as crazy as he otherwise would. So anyway, Blink is on the way here, and it is getting chronoed, so he's going to have it at the normal timing. And the question here at this point is, how aggressive does ZEST get with this build? Does he go, yes, quick third base? It looks like he's going to take like a 350 third, so this is only going to be 2-gate Blink. It may, yeah, okay, yeah, it's 2-gate Blink. I was going to say, it might even be 1-gate Blink, but no. It's going to be 2-gate Blink here, which is the defensive version, which means he moves out on the map here, pressures MARU with like 4-6 stalkers, not a lot, because of course he's trying to take his third behind that. That is where the majority of his money is gone. And that's where the majority of his focus is. So MARU, for his part, we don't have a third base on the way just yet. So it's looking more and more like this is going to be a Widowmine drop into a 2.5 base push, because that really is the meta at this point if you don't go for a quicker third base. Now, there are some builds that off of a Widowmine drop, you do go for a 430, 440 third base, but considering there are at least 2 barracks on the map, and I believe there are... Oh, never mind, it's only 1 barrack, so this may actually be an expand build. We're going to have to find out here from MARU. Is, of course, on Romanticide, it is easier, far easier to get your third base than pretty much any map in the pool outside of Death Aura. So that may be something that MARU has in the back of his head as he looks to figure out whether he does go for an aggressive build, whether he just goes for that 430, 440 expand. Now, with the Stalkers out here on the map, this drop here from MARU may be able to get a significant amount of damage done. There's just nothing that would be able to kill this off. Now, the probe pull from ZEST is going to be good. It's only going to be 1 probe to start. And now we have 2 more going to drop on into the main base here. But ZEST, he's shown he's on top of things, and he's most likely... There we go, yeah. Well, MARU's not even going to bother to drop a third Widowmine, as he's going to... Oh, okay, MARU. So we do have ZEST here on the other side of the map. He's trying to get something done. Now we do have this drop coming on in. This Widowmine is going to get... There we go, 10 workers do go on down. So ZEST, he had the first 2 holds really nicely. The third one, though, not all that successful, and the medevac is incredibly powerful. So now we have these Stalkers trying to get something done. But ZEST is only trading his Stalkers for Marines, or trading damage on his Stalkers, I guess, for Marines. And that is not nearly as valuable as knocking down 10 probes from a Protoss player that's trying to, you know, do stuff in this game. Now, we do have defensive Stalkers now, and they will be able to knock down the medevac. And the Widowmines, I think a Stalker died. Yeah, I think a Stalker did die to the Widowmine shot. But hey, no more probes did die. That being said, though, ZEST, he has his third base faster, to be sure, but he's down in workers compared to what MARU has. And when you're a Protoss player and you don't have mules, you want to be up, especially because you have Chrono. You want to be up just about 10 workers at this point, 8 to 10 workers at this point in the game, which conveniently is ZEST being down 2 workers and having lost 10. So, anyway, ZEST here is going to try to make some earned value back. Because if he just kind of plays the game out, I mean, MARU, he's just going to be able to kill him with a push. But now we do have this third base that is turning it into an orbital right now. So MARU did opt to play a more greedy build, a more expand-focused build in this match. He's not going to go for that +1 stim combat shield timing that Terrans do love so much. In fact, his stim is going to be rather later than it was in game number 1. His stim is going to finish at around 7 minutes, 7:30. And considering the fact that he did, in fact, get his stim done at, I think it was like right around 6 minutes in the previous game. I mean, that's a big difference. So So now we will have, I mean, the Stalkers, this one Adept, are going to get something done at the very least. The one Adept is just going to sit in this Warp Prism. Anyway, they did get something done. They were successful there. They knocked down a supply depot. Hey, that's already more damage than ZEST was able to. Well, no, ZEST got 6 workers last game. I'm being uncharitable. This is going to be a rather quick storm indeed, and ZEST is going into that charge lot style that he did not go into in game number 1. And I'm a much bigger fan of this than I was the previous style here, as charge is fantastic against aggressive Terrans. And Storm, again, until there are ghosts on the field, Storm is a fantastic utility to have here for ZEST, as he's just going to look to hold his third base, maybe take a fourth now that that Terran has taken his third. So now we do have our 4th base on the way here from ZEST, as he does have charge just about halfway done, and it looks like he wants to get a little bit aggressive on the map. This is oh, that's why. Yeah, his Storm is done here, so he does have 4 High Templars, and that's going to be 4 to 5 Storms. I'm not exactly sure how much energy is on these High Templar, but certainly enough to get some damage done. But MARU has sniffed this out in some way. I'm not exactly sure what he saw, but he's going to go for a massive flank here on the army of ZEST, and ZEST has got to be very careful right now. Because, yeah, he's pressuring. And, you know, actually, I think ZEST may be going for Storm Drops. There we go. Yeah, up on the high ground. Oh, God, ZEST. This is some significant damage here. He's going to knock down all the mules. 13 workers will die. But this surround here from MARU is going to be dynamite. And the entire ground army from ZEST will go on down. It's now a 40 army supply lead here from MARU. But ZEST should be able to escape with the last of these. Well, the last, not even the last of these Stalkers. The last singular Stalker. As the High Templar harassed, just trying to kill an SCV. Yeah, okay. I'm not exactly sure what that's supposed to get. Okay, he's fishing for that. And now we have Archon's going to get morphed on in, and okay, I don't know why ZEST is so slow in picking up those High Templar, but there we go. He will save the Archon. That's going to be rather nice. We do have a recall coming in. Look at that feedback, though. The Archon will go almost dead. But the big deal, of course, is the fact that it was only a couple auto turrets. We did not see any armor shredder. And that's the biggest of deals. Is now ZEST, he's going to look for Storm flanks once again, because MARU, he wants to put the screws to ZEST here in this match. He wants to, at the very least, knock down that 4th base. And, well, we do have ghosts on the field now. So that this army from MARU, it's a lot more powerful than it used to be. These High Templar are not nearly as powerful as they once was. But now we have a flank coming on in here. On to the tanks here from MARU. The Storm's going to be somewhat decent. But, oh, no, the Warp Prism goes down. That being said, though, it looks like these Zealots are doing a fantastic job getting on top of this army. They do have only +1, so MARU does have an upgrade lead, and it looks like just barely he's going to have what he needs to push on through here. But that is, how many Zealots? That is 10 gates worth of Zealots that are going to warp on in here, and that should be enough here to hold for ZEST for the time being. Although, I mean, the army supply lead, it's always crazy when we see how well Zealots fight against a bunch of bio. Okay, the Widow Mines, though, are going to be nice indeed. Now, 10 Stalkers are on the way, so it's kind of interesting that we see ZEST, you know, warping in either Stalkers or Zealots, not kind of a mixture of each. But MARU, he's going to sense blood here. He says, you know what, look, all your tech is gone. All of your anything that's useful is gone here. So I'm just going to go pushing on in. Now, MARU, for his part, does not have his 2-2 on the way. I don't even know if he does have an armory, but he's not started 2-2 until right now. And that's going to be not going to be a problem, but it is going to be him giving up on an advantage he may have, or he may have had. As he could have had a 2 upgrade advantage here, but now he's only going to have it, but it's going to be a little bit late. So now with the Widow Mines coming on in, the Zealots are going to try to make connections. Nice targeting there from MARU to make sure that he gets all of them. And now more and more Stalkers are getting warped on in. The supply gap is shrinking. But again, MARU, his army is better over the long run. It has healing, it has EMP. So he's going to stem on in once again. More and more Immortals on the way, of course. More and more Zealots as well. And this is kind of a scary position for MARU to really push on into with the Sentries now out. He is now in a position where he can go and get force fielded, have his army get cut in half, and suddenly that's a game that ZEST can win. That's a fight that ZEST can win. So MARU, he's going to probably try to go around the left-hand side here, and there we go. So he's going to move around the left-hand side, try to take a more advantageous fight, but no, he's just going to go through the choke on anyways, as he says, to hell with this. If I can find all the way through, and if I just EMP all your sentries, who the hell cares whether you're going to do anything else? Who the hell cares whether you will get any more damage done? Because now we're going to get on top of everything here. And we are waiting, of course, for some storms, but MARU on top of these EMPs to an extreme extent. As soon as the High Templars run on forward, well, they get EMP'd, as the storm will be unsuccessful. There are only 2 storms left on the map at this point. But there is a Warp Prism out, which does mean we can get maybe some storms from some weird angles. And for the most part, ZEST has been successful in holding the space. I mean, it's not great, but the supply that was minus 40 at one point is now just about equal. And that being said, though, ZEST is not going to fight with his entire army. That's going to be a little bit of a problem, as these EMPs are just keeping landing. They're doing such a good job there of keeping the army of ZEST low, keeping the army of ZEST bruised. And even if the supply is somewhat equal, well, it's going to take some splash damage for this to really work on out. And, well, there are only 2 High Templar in this Warp Prism. That storm is going to be rather juicy, though. And we're going to have to see another massive one, though. That is coupled with an engage here from ZEST. If ZEST just lands a storm and allows MARU to back on up, suddenly it's not all that great, right? So we're going to have to see that storm go on down, and the High Templar are going to run on forward. And they're going to get turned into an Archon. The Ghosts are going to try to get those EMPs, but now ZEST is going to go for a big flank. But you got to look at this, right? There are, of course, 2 Liberators on... I believe this is 2 Liberators on that. No, it's just 1 Liberator and a Widowmine. Okay, that's what I was seeing. Anyway, there's 1 Liberator here, and ZEST is going to be forced to take a fight now. We do have a run-by here on the other side. A bunch of Zealots that were warped on in have been able to find their way across the map and are starting to get some semblance of damage done. But with the Widowmines here, actually, they will be forced back. Only 2 SCVs go on down, and MARU, he still has this chokehold on the 4th base, is still continuing to get some sort of actual armor damage done on this base. It's not just shields that are going to regen. No, it is armor. This is permanent damage that ZEST does have to contend with, but ZEST is getting close to maxing out, which honestly is not all that great for him. He does have 3-1 on the way, but you got to remember here, this is a primarily Warp Gate army, and when you have a primary Warp Gate army, it's not all that great, right? You want to have some bulk there, some tech, because these Widowmines are just going to be massive. And suddenly, yeah, we were talking about ZEST being close to maxed out. That is not true anymore. Now he's going to be down at half the supply of his opponent. He's going to try to take the fight, though, and you know what? He's only down 2 upgrades, which is better than being down 4 upgrades, which was kind of the opportunity there for MARU. But it looks like ZEST, despite taking a really bad fight from a Widowmine perspective, may be able to force MARU back for the time being. At the very least, knock down most of those Widowmines that were causing such an issue, such a headache there for ZEST. That minefield was really preventing ZEST from taking the fight that he's looking for. So now all the Widowmines are going to go on down here, and ZEST, he's going to be able to shove MARU back for the time being, but you got to remember, right? MARU does have +3 attack at the very least on the way here. He has a much bigger army supply, and he will be able to take this fight. That being said, of course, a lot of this supply, it's like 20 army supply of this Terran army, is in medevacs, which have literally 0 healing. They have very little energy left on any of them, and when we take a look at it that way, well, that's about an equal army supply. ZEST is down 20, and he does not have medevacs, but if the medevacs don't have energy, well, the medevacs don't have energy, and that's kind of a bit of a problem when you're trying to get something done. So now we will have the Stalkers trying to take this fight, targeting down as many Widowmines as they can. And that feedback will, of course, be fantastic on these Ghosts, and that really is what ZEST is doing so well in this game. It's what is allowing him to stay on in this game, whether it's by trades or whether it's by feedbacks. He is doing a fantastic job of keeping the energy of this Terran army low, and when that's the case, well, these medevacs don't heal nearly as much, you don't have nearly as many EMPs, and that makes it just a little bit easier. That storm is going to be very nice indeed, but there we go. The storms are going to be spent. The army of the Terran is not really going to die. A couple Marauders will, as ZEST, he's going to look for the flank, but these Widowmines here are going to be doing a bang-up job of knocking that down. As well, I think something like 3 or 4 Zealots did die. But MARU, his rally will be forced back here, as ZEST is going to have a massive run by here on into the 3rd base of MARU. But MARU is aware of this because he saw the Widowmines. So what does he do? He just moves his army back for the time being. But ZEST, he understands that the goal of this army was not to get damage done. I mean, if he gets damage done, that's fantastic. But the true goal of this push is to buy himself room on the map, to buy himself time on the map. So it's not just a Terran knocking at his doorstep for the last 15 minutes like what we have seen. So now ZEST, he finally has an opportunity to get out on the map here. That EMB is going to be very nice on that one Archon. And now the High Templar are going to get let on out here. The storms are not going to be all that inspiring. And we still do have 4 more that came from it. It looks like ZEST is actually going to be able to knock down the 4th base here of MARU just barely. But I'm looking at the army. I'm not looking at the income. As now MARU, he's got a double army supply lead, 100 to 50. ZEST gets the base. MARU gets the game.